All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Call the City Council Committee of the Whole meeting for Wednesday, August 7th to order. This time we'll have a moment of silence, Purple Heart Memorial Day. So. Thank you. If Alderman McGinnis, if everybody would please stand and join us in the reciting of the pledge.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Crook, if you'd be kind enough to call the roll tonight.
Ardon.
Here.
Kelly.
Here.
McGinnis.
here.
Reinhardt.
Here.
Grip.
Here.
Newton.
Here.
Lynch.
Here.
T-Dunn.
Here.
Jobson. Here. And Burkholder.
Here.
10 present, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. So again, good evening and welcome. As we begin the meeting of the City Council Committee of the Whole, I'd like to welcome everybody in attendance and anybody who's watching through any particular device. Respectfully welcome your comments and opinions, but please keep in mind, as you share your thoughts, you're sharing them with your fellow Davenporters and anybody throughout the region. Happy you're participating in your city government, but ask that your participation please reflect the common desire we all share to make Davenport a better place. For the folks in here, as a reminder, if you'd be kind enough to put your cell phone either on silent or turn it off, simply it doesn't get in the way of someone talking. If you want to address the council tonight on an agenda item, please come to the podium. The microphone's above you. Love to know your name, order, address, and if you're not from here, we'd love to know where you're from. Please address the council as a body and not to any one individual. We'll be respectful of you. Please be respectful of us. Thank you. Ms. Merritt, any update tonight?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Very good. We have two public hearings, both under Public Works. Alderman Rick Dunn and Alderman Kelly will discuss. Alderman Rick Dunn, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Open the first public hearing on the plan specification, form of contract, and estimated cost for the bus barn charging project. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this public hearing? Seeing none, I move to close the public hearing. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. This public hearing is closed. Open the second public hearing on the plan specification, form of contract, and estimated cost for the main library renovation. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this public hearing? Seeing none, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. This public hearing is closed, and back to you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman Dunn. Next is petitions communications. I'll just start quickly. Summer is always a season for change of station. We call it PCS in the military. So a lot of new folks coming onto the arsenal. Had a couple new of the commanders recently, both at the Army Sustainment Command, First Army, et cetera. So anytime they're out in the community, welcome them. They're really excited about being here. So I see Alderman McGinnis.
Thank you, Your Honor. I had two things tonight. One is just a reminder that the last party in the park is tomorrow night from 5:30 to 7:30. It was to be in Cork Hill, but they are still working on a new feature there, and so it will be at Harrington. And I believe there is the dedication of the sports field, which is one of the fields that has gone in with ARPA funding there, multi-sports fields at 5 o'clock, starting before Party in the Park starts at 5:30. So I hope you can join us. There's lots of parking around Harrington Park. It's a really easy park to walk into and all of that. So please join us. The other thing is the fire department is doing a fill the station event for school supplies with the Davenport schools, and you can take school supplies to any station, any Davenport fire station, between at 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Today through Friday. So that event goes on, and if you want to help out the kids, there's the place that you can drop them off. So just wanted to mention that as well. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman McGinnis. Alderman Jobson.
Thank you. Just want to notify people that next Tuesday, or this upcoming Tuesday, August 13th, 6:30 p.m. at Duck Creek Park Lodge will be the next Sixth Ward meeting. Feel free to come. Look forward to seeing everybody there. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Jobson. Alderman Reinhardt.
Thank you. Just want to let folks know in the 8th Ward that tomorrow evening we're holding the monthly meeting at Red Hawk Golf Course off Northwest Boulevard from 6 to 7:30. All are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Reinhardt. Anyone else? Very good.
Can I jump in there?
Alderman Kelly, please.
Thank you. Sorry for my absence, not feeling the best, but I want to say last week I was at the NACRJ, which is the National Association Communication for restorative justice. And if anybody wants any information on what I learned and the good time that I had in D.C., I will be more than happy to share that with my fellow colleagues and the community. Thanks again for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Kelly. Anyone else? Very good. We'll move to the 4 areas of discussion. Community development, public safety, public works, and finance. The first area is community development. Alderman Grip and Alderman Reinhardt, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. First item on community development this evening is a third consideration ordinance for case ORD 24-03, being the request of Grace Real Estate to amend the principal use standards in subsection 17.08.030, neighborhood commercial establishment of the municipal code of Davenport, Iowa, by adding daycare center and medical dental office as permitted uses within a neighborhood commercial establishment. Is there anyone from the public who's here to comment on this item? Please step to the lectern, state your name and address or ward.
Derek Cornett. I think that this sweeping change for, to allow those types of industry in neighborhood areas should be handled on a case-by-case basis, not just make a broad change to the zoning rules. I mean, we spent a year and a half trying to get the rules all worked out, and we get them worked out, and now every time something comes up, we're trying to change the rules. I mean, it's like, why did we go to all that trouble to get the zoning laws and everything where they are today? It just seems ridiculous that some company can come up and say, oh, we want to do this. We think this should be a citywide thing. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, that sounds good. I think that maybe in this case, for a specific site, that would be good, but not citywide.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public here to comment on this item? Seeing no one, anyone from the council? We'll start with Alderwoman McGinnis.
Thank you, Alderman Grip. I will be offering an amendment tonight to remove medical and dental offices as a permitted use. I will not make that amendment now. I did have a few comments on the request for this. And I want to thank planning. They provided, yesterday, provided to the city council a ward-by-ward map of where these things are located, where there's so these would be uses in commercial buildings only, wouldn't be, and it was in commercial buildings in R4 zonings. It would not be residential buildings in R4. There are already, just so everyone understands, there are daycare homes that are allowed within the R4 zoning right now, daycare homes, not daycare centers. And that is, that's been a use that's been permitted for a very long time, and it is somewhat mandated by the state as well. This is not. So this is a request, and the people who came with this they have a building in mind on Telegraph, and in order to use that building for the purpose they would like, that's why they're requesting that within our special use permit system that these be added. And I live in a neighborhood of unintended zoning consequences. I live in a neighborhood that back in the 60s, and it happened all across the older part of the city. People could take houses and chop them into multifamily. It was very loosely zoned, and I know as a resident of since 1997 of the neighborhood I live in, we have had at times to fight our way out of these unintended consequences, not meant when they were done, but it had a huge impact. We went through, I remember one where a gentleman was coming and wanted to reopen a store, but of course he had to sell liquor in the neighborhood, and the commission approved it, and we had to go through the whole getting 8 votes to at council to, basically deny what the commission had addressed, and it would have been a terrible thing. So I've kind of lived this. So when there is this universal look at changes type thing, I'm very sensitive to it. And I won't apologize for that, but it is where I come from. As I had suspected, within the map shows within the areas, the older parts of the city, where that doesn't have sort of the suburban type neighborhoods, you have many, many, many more of these non-residential buildings that are used as for different purposes. And there are many red, I'll just say in these maps, south of Locust, there's many more red dots. And so it kind of, tells the tale of how these old neighborhoods were built and the uses, the corner commercial uses that they had, which function very differently than they did back when these neighborhoods were built. These neighborhoods were also built before a lot of people had cars, or they might have one family car. They were using buses, they were trolleys, so pretty narrow lots in front. And so now we have neighborhoods where you, of course, probably every house, even if it's still a single family home, has several cars. There's several people with cars. In the case of these neighborhoods, many again were subdivided into multifamily units, and so you have even more cars. So there's a lot of pressure with parking on the street. So when it comes to looking at daycare centers, to my mind, do not generate a lot of daily traffic. There are people who work there, but it doesn't generate people parking on the street for a long time. So you're not really adding, you have drop-off to consider, but you don't have extra traffic. But when you talk about medical and dental, you're talking about something entirely different. You're talking about multiple people coming a day for services, of course. And so it's a really different situation when you look at medical and dental. We seem to have, and looking at these maps again, we seem to have ample space, or I feel like there's ample space for these medical and dental, which is in the commercial zonings. Certainly in Third Ward, there's not much of a desert or a space where there aren't commercial buildings allowed, so people should be able to have access. And so from that standpoint, I really feel like that medical and dental is something we should not be doing. There is a big pressure on providing more daycare. We all know there isn't enough daycare. And if properly managed as a special use permit, and this will be a decision I guess the ZBA will make in terms of requirements, that they have internal drop-off perhaps, that they have enough parking for their staff, and that will be a case-by-case basis. But I feel like that is less parking pressure, certainly, and so the amendment, I will be coming back, and I will wait till my other colleagues speak, but I will be making an amendment to remove the medical and dental office as a permitted use. And again, there was a question asked, well, what do the neighbors think of this? In this particular case, changing the request of the people to change this, it doesn't require neighborhood input. It's not a rezoning, it's adding a special use. So that does not require going to the neighborhood to say, what do you think about this at this particular location? Again, the issue is this is a global change, and that's something we need to step through, I think, pretty carefully. So I'm sorry to go on so long, but thank you for your forbearance.
Thank you. Alderman Reinertz.
Thank you. After reviewing the material provided by staff, identifying potential neighborhood access across the entire city impact this change in zoning, I'm in favor of approving daycare in existing non-residential buildings located in residential neighborhoods, such as churches and offices. But I think that medical dental, as part of an approved use in a non-residential building, is wrong. Our responsibility as a city council is to ensure that changes made to the zoning code will not endanger public health, safety, and welfare within existing neighborhoods, and meets the spirit of the intent of the zoning. So I will be supporting Alderwoman McGinnis when we move forward with this particular item. Thank you.
Me when I have a chance.
Yep, we'll go to Alderman Kelly.
Thank you so much. So as somebody who works in a clinic on the corner of 6th and Harrison, I understand the importance. So let me tell you why I support this. Those clinics weren't open every single day of the week. Those clinics were there to support those folks that A, didn't have a car, or B, that were walking, or C, right there from 6th and Main, so folks that actually had to have healthcare access. So, I mean, I believe, and I love, so thank you for staff for the work that they did to get this information out to us, so therefore we can see what's going on. But these clinics aren't open every single day of the week when they're in these buildings. So just let's be clear with that. When these clinics are there, they're going to be specialized because they're going to be trying to target and pick up folks that either A, are like the 9 to 5ers, so therefore they're going to be later, like 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, which will probably be an inconvenience for a neighborhood. But if we look deeper into this as opposed to just putting a blanket no on it, this could help and benefit so many people that aren't in your neighborhoods, that don't live north of, because think about this, on the west end, Genesis West has closed. Everything is either on the east side or Bettendorf. So think about those folks as well. So we can't just say a blanket no across the city of Davenport just because of parking, because it's interesting to me that when we want to build all these houses, parking is not an issue. But now all of a sudden when we want to do healthcare and daycare, parking becomes an issue. Thank you for my time, sir.
Thank you, Alderman Kelly. Is there Alderwoman Lynch?
Thank you. I was hoping if someone from staff can explain if it is a possibility in the future to entertain this concept for just this specific case for medical and daycare services, to where we don't have to allow it in every R4 zoning area, because it's a pretty large area, I would say.
Sure. Laura Berkeley, Development Neighborhood Services. Yes, so if this is something the council would like to pick up a later date, if they want to separate this out from the daycare center discussion, that's absolutely something you are able to do. And at the direction of the council, we will work towards something if that's the direction that council wants to go.
But is it possible to allow this use for this specific location and not allow it for all of the properties in R4
Unfortunately, it wouldn't work that way. We wouldn't be able to narrow it down property by property specifically within the zoning code. You can do it a couple different ways. We can revisit this at a later date and dig down a little bit deeper if there needs to be some restrictions, some higher guidance to this, whether that be hours of operation, size of the clinic, number of employees of the clinic, those type of things that we could build into a zoning code that might be a little bit separate. But when we apply it in the zoning code, any non-residential building in a residential district could, in theory, be allowed to be a medical dental office if an applicant applied for it and it was approved by the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Thank you. And for clarification, can you specify what R4 means for the folks that don't know?
Yes. So really what the zoning text change is specifically within the neighborhood commercial establishment. So neighborhood commercial establishments are buildings in residential districts that were built as a commercial building. That could be anything from a neighborhood corner grocery store to a former school to a church, something along those lines. It of itself is a separate use in the zoning code that's allowed in almost all of our residential districts. It is a special use, so anything that would go there, they would need to apply to the city, and then the Zoning Board of Adjustment would review it in greater detail. At that point, what I think would be more useful is direction from council on when it's appropriate and when it's not. Otherwise, it's hard to necessarily say no if that direction is not there.
Okay, and the vast majority of Davenport is R4.
So I don't have the numbers in front of me. It wouldn't be specifically R4. It's the districts that neighborhood commercial establishment are currently allowed. It would automatically fall into those districts. It's most of our residential districts.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I, just real quick, I will most likely be supporting Alderwoman McGinnis this evening because I think that, I know that there are neighborhoods that do need medical and daycare, especially in this neighborhood. I used to live there, so, and some folks down there can't afford the city bus. So I do think that it would be nice to see something like that there, but just this specific item, and because of I think that it's a consequence if we open this one here, then this can be allowed in every neighborhood. So my support is based on that, and I will be following up with Laura Berkeley to discuss how we can possibly make some changes so this doesn't happen again. Thank you.
All right, seeing no one else, I'll briefly provide my comments, and then we'll go to Alderwoman McGinnis for her amendment. But so very similar to what Alderwoman Lynch just said, I'm good on the daycare. I think we should pass that. I don't have a strong feeling on the medical dental either way, but and I agree with Alderman Kelly that there's opportunity here to bring medical dental to underserved neighborhoods. My big question that I'm not able to answer right now is, would the unintended consequences of doing this outweigh the hopeful benefits that we would get? And so my concern is that they would. And so I think taking this one off and then maybe looking at it on its own and coming back to it if we want to is the best way to go. So I think it warrants further investigation and conversation, but I don't know that I want to pass it tonight. So seeing no one else, we'll go to Alderwoman McGinnis for her amendment.
Thank you, Alderman Grip. So I would make an amendment to this ordinance, removing, keeping the daycare and removing and medical / dental office. So it would be by adding a daycare centers as permitted uses, and we would take out a medical / dental office. So that's my motion.
All right, there is an amendment, a motion for amendment and a second. And we do voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, there's one opposed. Okay, the amendment has passed. And I didn't do have discussion on the amendment. We voted. Yeah, we voted. It's 9-1. Okay. All right. In that case, next week we will be voting on this amended, taking out the medical dental office. Okay. All right, we're moving on to item number 2, which is a resolution setting a public hearing on the proposed conveyance of vacated West 5th Street between Cedar Street and Howell Street to Davenport Community School District, the petitioner. Is there anyone from the public who's here to comment on this item? Anyone from the council? This item will move on. Item number 3 is a resolution accepting the North Park Mall retail market analysis and use strategy. Is there anyone from the public who's here to comment on this item? Is there anyone from the council? Seeing no one, this item will move on. Alderman Reiners, will you please set our agenda for this evening?
I make a motion to move items 1, 2, and 3 to the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
I would, there is a motion and a second, and we can discuss it, right? If there's a motion on the floor, we can discuss it, and it only I would like item number 1 to stay on discussion, and 2 and 3 to go to consent.
All right, I make a motion.
So you would have to withdraw your motion
Okay.
and then make a second motion.
I withdraw my motion on the setting the agenda for items 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Okay. You withdrew it, it's good. So now you withdrew your motion, so it's off the table. So now you can
I'll make a
make your new
motion.
motion.
To move items 2 and 3 to consent agenda and item 1 for further discussion.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? All right, our agenda has been set. Back to you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman Grip and Alderman Reiners. The next area is public safety. Alderman Jobson and Alderman Tindon to discuss. Alderman Jobson, please.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. First item under the public safety agenda is a second consideration ordinance amending Schedule 13, 7-ton weight limit of Chapter 10.96 entitled Schedules of the Municipal Code of Davenport, Iowa by adding 5th Street from Western Avenue to Gaines Street thereto. Is there anyone from the public wishing to comment on this item? Anyone from council? Seeing none, that item will move on. Item number 2, resolution approving street, lane, and public ground closure requests on the list of dates and times for outdoor events. I'll read each of these before asking for comment. First, Rachel Buckwalter, Made Indie Market, downtown, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday, August 17th, 2024, closure East 2nd Street from Perry Street to Pershing Avenue. Next, Terry Logan, Thornwood Good Neighbor Project Block Party, 900 to 1200 block of North Thornwood Avenue, 10 a.m. to 10:30 p.m., Saturday, August 17th, 2024, closure North Thornwood Avenue from North Lincoln Avenue to West Stubbs Lane. Next, Place of Refugee Ministries, Back to School Celebration, 518 Brown Street, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday, August 24th, 2024, closure East to West Alley from Brown Street to Warren Street between West 5th Street and West 6th Street. Next, St. Anthony Catholic Church, Kermes, 417 North Main Street, 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., Sunday, September 8th, 2024, closure North Main Street from West 4th Street to West 5th Street. Next, Heather Davis, Arlington Avenue Block Party, 3,000 and 3,100 blocks of Arlington Avenue, 12:30 p.m. to 8 p.m., Saturday, September 14th, 2024. Closures Arlington Avenue from East 30th Street to East 32nd Street, East 32nd Street from Arlington Avenue east to the alley. And last, Palmer College of Chiropractic Homecoming, 1000 Brady Street, 6 a.m., Saturday, September 21, 2024, to 10 a.m., Sunday, September 22nd, 2024. Closure 2 easternmost lanes of Brady Street from 8th Street to Palmer Drive. Is there anyone from public wishing to comment on any of these items? Seeing none, anyone from council? Seeing none, that item will move on. Item number 3, motion approving noise variance requests on the list of dates and times for outdoor events. I'll read each of these before asking for comment. First, Rachel Buckwalter, Made Indie Market, downtown, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Saturday, August 17th, 2024, outdoor music band over 50 dBA. Next, Place of Refugee Ministries, Back to School Celebration, 518 Brown Street, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday, August 24th, 2024, outdoor music over 50 dBA. Next, St. Anthony Catholic Church, Kermes, 417 North Main Street, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., Sunday, September 8th, 2024, outdoor music over 50 dBA. And last, Heather Davis, Arlington Avenue Block Party, 3,000 and 3,100 blocks of Arlington Avenue, 12:30 p.m. to 8 p.m., Saturday, September 14th, 2024, outdoor music over 50 dBA. Is there anyone from public wishing to comment on any of these items? Seeing none, anyone from council? Seeing none, that item will move on. And last, item number 4, motion approving beer and liquor license applications. I'll read those under Section A, new license, new owner, temporary permit, temporary outdoor area, location transfer, etc. First, the Mississippi River Distilling Company, 318 East 2nd Street, extended outdoor area, August 9th through 11th, license type Class C, liquor on premises. Please note this to be voted on later on in the agenda. Next, Palmer College of Chiropractic, 1000, 1001, 1005, North Brady Street, new license with outdoor area, license type Class C liquor on premises. Next, River Center / Adler Theater, 136 East 3rd Street, temporary extended outdoor area, August 16th through 17th, license type Class C liquor on premises. Next, Thunder Bay Grill, 400 Biderbeck Drive, temporary outdoor event, August 17th, license type Class C liquor on premises. And then Links, 5619 Utica Ridge Road, number 300, outdoor area, new license/owner, license type Class C liquor on premises. There are then those items under Section B, the annual license renewals, which are there for review. I will not read, but then we'll move on to reading the item under Section C, which is a request for waiver to 600 feet of childcare distance separation provisions. This is Palmer College of Chiropractic, 1000, 1001, 1005 North Brady Street, new license with outdoor area license type Class C liquor on premises. Is there anyone from public wishing to comment on these items? Please step to the podium, name or address, and then please which item to which you'll be speaking. Thank you.
Judith Lee, Second Ward. And I'm going back to the Mississippi River Distilling Company that will be voted on later. I would like you to explain as a council why they couldn't get this in on time. Because the precedent of the policy has been, if they could have gotten it on time and there was no extenuating circumstance, that you should not grant this. And I'm hoping that if that's the case, that you do not grant this. Thank you.
Thank you. Please step to the podium, name or address, and then please the item to which you'll be speaking. Thank you.
Gary Eklund, and I live in Davenport. And I'm speaking to the both the liquor license and the child care waiver for how close alcohol can be served to child care. Before I speak against this, I want to point out that I always had decent feelings about Palmer College. When I was 17 years old, Scott Community College was way the hell out there, and Palmer used to have a Palmer Junior College where people could take classes, general education classes. They used to have that open, and I took several classes there, and I remember that fondly. Palmer was known for bringing health-conscious people from around the world. Yeah, sure, they're spoiled, rotten rich kids. A lot of them, the children of chiropractors from South Africa and Canada and Switzerland.
Mr. Eklund,
But the Palmer College kids, maybe even more than regular medical students, seem to have a real consciousness of good health, good nutrition, physical exercise. So I have positive feelings towards Palmer. However, the employee who was terminated for cause, but not really terminated for cause, he told me specifically, and it's in writing, that the City of Davenport Public Works Department and the City Davenport leadership partnered with Palmer to destroy low-income housing
Mr.
for
Eklund,
black residents.
that is not part of the agenda.
Well,
Stick to the agenda
I am
item.
speaking against giving any special benefits to Palmer. If Palmer is going to buy up and demolish low-income housing, then they do not deserve to have special privileges from the City of Davenport. Giving them a one-year liquor license is wrong. Giving them permission to serve alcohol so close to a child care facility is wrong. Their destruction of low-income housing in partnership with the City of Davenport to get rid of black tenants was wrong.
Mr.
I'm opposed to this.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to comment on any of these items? Anyone from council? Alderman Dunn, Rick Dunn, that is.
Thank you. Can we have staff address the Mississippi? They answered it yesterday, but for the public, we can.
So according to the applicant, they actually had submitted their paperwork to the state on June 26th. There was an issue, but the state didn't let them know until, I believe, the end of July, which did not give them enough time to fix whatever the issue was. So they did actually submit the paperwork in time, but the state didn't alert them of the issue in a timely manner, so.
Anything else, Alderman Dunn? Alderwoman McGinnis.
Yes, and also to the question, there are things that nobody sees on the agenda because we have said indeed, we're not going to waive this. So that does happen frequently. It doesn't appear because we've waived it. In this case, this was also in addition to the issue these folks had with the state. This was a series of events, outdoor events, and this was an added date. And they did submit it, and I think the late June is certainly a fair enough amount of time. So in this case, it seemed not their issue, but something the state had messed up. So, but there are things that no one sees because we say, don't do that. In fact, there's one on this agenda that was a late request for an event a week before that it is now, and now it's being approved because it it's the proper amount of time. So that does happen. But you don't see it because we take care of it.
Thank you, Alderwoman McGinnis. Alderwoman Newton.
Thank you. I do have some questions regarding item C. If staff could come, and it's two questions. One, I would want to know what the 600-foot distance separation provision entails. And then secondly, I want to know if such waivers have been granted in the past, how often, and for whom.
Good evening, Jim O'Dean, Interim Finance Director. So the 600-foot provision says that alcohol can't be sold within 600 feet of a daycare or elementary or secondary school. In this case, the superintendent of schools has provided a waiver stating that they are fine with Palmer receiving this license.
I'm a little confused. What do you mean the superintendent isn't this something the council would decide?
No, they sent, the school district sent, superintendent sent a letter stating that they were fine with waiving the 600-foot rule. They were fine with the waiver. Obviously, you guys ultimately approve it, but we have to notify the school district, and they sent a letter saying that they were fine with that.
So in this case, it's not a daycare facility, it is
No,
a school?
it's Central High School,
Okay,
a secondary school.
all right, thank you for the explanation.
Yep, no problem.
Nothing further. Back to you, Alderman Dovden.
No, no one else? Okay, sorry. Saw some movements there. So with that, I would ask Alderman Tim Dunn, please set our agenda.
Make a motion to put all items of public safety to the consent agenda, excluding Mississippi River Distilling Company to be voted on later on the agenda, and also item C to be put on discussion.
We have a motion. Second. And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Closes public safety. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Dunn, Alderman Tim Dunn. I'm sorry, Alderman Jojen and Alderman Tim Dunn. Next is Public Works. Alderman Rick Dunn and Alderman Kelly to discuss. Alderman Rick Dunn, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item number 1 is the second consideration of an ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 13.34 entitled Stormwater Management of the Municipal Code of Davenport, Iowa, to clear the conveyed intent and to ensure compliance with recent state legislation regarding regulation of topsoil and stormwater at construction sites. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council. Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 2 is a resolution authorizing submission of a grant application to the Iowa Department of Transportation Traffic Safety Improvement Program for financial assistance to install traffic signals at the intersection of Elmore Avenue and East 46th Street. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council. Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 3 is a resolution authorizing submission of a grant application to the Iowa Department of Transportation Traffic Safety Improvement Program for financial assistance to improve the intersection of Kimberly Road and East 36th Street. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council. Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 4 is a resolution adopting the final assessment of schedule for the 2023 alley resurfacing program in accordance with the alley cost share program and amending, confirming, and levying the assessments. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council. Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 5 is a resolution awarding a contract for the 3rd Street Pavement Rehabilitation Project to Langman Construction in the amount of $4,681,917.45. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council. Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 6 is a resolution awarding a contract for the Blackhawk Creek Gate Replacement Project to Haggerty Earthworks in the amount of $549,661.36. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council. Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 7 is a resolution awarding a contract for the East High Street and Forest Road storm sewer realignment project to Five Cities Construction in the amount of $356,943.78. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item?
Gary Eckman, I'll be real quick. Just because it's sewer related, I want to again ask all 10 members of the city council to ask the city staff to come up with a plan to put the storm sewers, put all the sewers billing back on the property taxes where it used to be, although the property tax is not being fairly assessed, with poor people being overassessed. The sewer bill is an unnecessary burden
Mr.
on the
Eckman,
poor
we're not talking
citizens.
about sewer bills. We're talking about a specific project. So if you want to address the
Well,
project,
I'm
that's
addressing
fine.
I'm addressing the funding, and I'll sit down. I just want to say that because it's sewer related, I wanted to ask you again to please, ask the staff to come up with a plan to move the sewer bills back onto the regular property taxes, and I'll sit down and thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Council. Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 8 is a resolution awarding a contract for the Davenport Freight House roof replacement project to White Roofing in the amount of $281,055. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council. Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 9 is a resolution awarding a contract for the Garfield Park ADA Access Improvement Project to Midwest Concrete in the amount of $262,533.50. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council. Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 10 is a resolution awarding a contract for the West 3rd Street and West 4th Street Telegraph Road to Fillmore Street Traffic Signal Upgrades Project to Davenport Electric in the amount of $198,517. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 11 is a resolution approving the plan, specification, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Bus Barn Charging Project. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 12 is a resolution approving the plan, specification, form of contract, and estimated cost for the main library renovation Phase 2 project. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 13 is a resolution approving the purchase of a wheel loader from Martin Equipment in the amount of $214,743.37. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 14 is a resolution approving the purchase of 2 street sweeper hopper assemblies from Armor Equipment in the amount of $185,156. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 15 is a motion approving the purchase of a compact track loader from Martin Equipment in the amount of $86,843.20. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 16 is a motion awarding a blanket contract for the purchase of calcium chloride for the 2024-2025 winter season to Envirotech Services as the primary supplier and Silico as the backup supplier. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item will move on. And item number 17 is a motion approving a waiver of installation of sidewalk along the southern portion of 510 and 516 West 35th Street, and that the waiver remain in effect as long as certain conditions remain in effect. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing Alderman Jobjet.
Thank you. Just request this be on discussion. Again, I think I'm in favor of the waiver. Question for our Corporation Council, since staff recommends denial, so if we vote yes, we're voting for the waiver, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, just want to make sure it wasn't that, and yes meant support of the denial of the waiver, so thank you.
Anyone else? Alderwoman Lynch.
Thank you. I was just hoping or wondering if staff could, just out of curiosity, what is the process that you use when you go about recommending denial or approval for things like this?
Brian Shad, City Engineer. In accordance with Council's prioritization of pedestrian connectivity, as we have site plans come to us for review, we look for those broken sections anywhere where that sidewalk is not existing. And we find that the appropriate time for those sections to be put in as part of that development. In this particular instance, there are some topography and utility issues. So we advise the applicant that they do have the process, the ability to come down, talk to council about a possible waiver until a future date.
So in reality, the process is just based off of what is standard,
That is correct.
just per the code? And then any other exceptions beyond that are to the discretion of the council?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Alderwoman Newton. Yes, Alderwoman Newton.
Thank you. I didn't want to speak until I had the floor, Alderman. I had another question for our engineer. Has no waiver been previously granted for a property adjacent to the properties that are now being requested?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. And you said that when you say the utility issue, you mean is there a pole in the way of where the sidewalk would be placed?
That is correct. There are utility poles across the entire frontage, and that would be a rather sizable cost to remove or relocate those.
Okay, thank you. I yield the floor back.
Anyone else? Seeing none, this item will move on. Alderman Kelly, would you set the agenda for us, please?
I sure will. I would like to make a motion to move 16 items forward, with item number 17 being kept on discussion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. The agenda is set, and back to you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman Dunn and Alderman Kelly. Next area and last area is finance. Alderwoman Newton and Alderwoman Lynch will discuss. Alderwoman Newton, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, Alderwoman Lynch and I have 14 items for discussion. The first is first consideration, ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 6.04 entitled Animals of the Municipal Code of Davenport, Iowa, to incorporate recommendations from the Joint Task Force between the Humane Society of Scott County and the City of Davenport, Iowa, and to update language regarding fees and roles. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Please step forward, state your name. Anyone from council? Oh. Sorry, please state your name and ward or address.
Derek Cornett, Ward 7. I'd just like to make sure that council has made it incredibly clear to the Humane Society that they need to follow the laws of Davenport when it comes to dogs and animals in general. I know the Humane Society doesn't like to kill anything, but when you have a dangerous animal, dog, and they don't want to do anything about it because they may have to kill the animal, they circumvent the rules. And it's really not fair to the people that live around a dangerous dog that they don't do their job. It's incumbent on us to make them, as part of the deal, that we give them all this money to take care of the animals in the quads in Davenport, that they follow the law of Davenport, not what they think it should be. Because you don't need dangerous animals out there with no supervision. And, the Humane Society goes, well, the dog had a bad upbringing, and, we think that, his parents really didn't care about him, and, but no, I mean, it's ridiculous what they won't do to protect the public when it comes to something like that. So I'm all for helping them out and, everything being the Humane Society deal. But, when it comes to keeping the people of Davenport safe for themselves and their property, they are sorely lacking in their commitment to do that. So, my opinion.
Is there anyone else? Anyone from council? Seeing none, this item will move on. Item number 2. Item number 2, resolution appointing Ms. Nicole Gleason as the acting city administrator. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Please step forward, state your name, address, or ward.
My name is David Ezra Sidron. I live in the 3rd Ward. The 2 greatest disasters in the history of the city of Davenport were the collapse of the HESCO barriers on April 20th, 2019, and the collapse of 324 Main Street on May 28th, 2023. These 2 catastrophes resulted in multiple deaths, destruction of millions of dollars of property, an uncounted number of residents who were made homeless and destitute. These 2 tragedies were completely preventable and were caused by a human incompetence and malfeasance in Davenport's Department of Public Works. Malfeasance is a word that you frequently see in the numerous lawsuits filed against the city of Davenport. It means, quote, intentional conduct that causes physical or monetary harm to someone else, especially when caused by officials or public employees. Malfeasance perfectly describes the director of Davenport's Department of Public Works, who did not know how to correctly construct a HESCO barrier to protect against a 22-foot flood crest. Malfeasance perfectly describes the director of Davenport's Public Works, who did not know how to correctly calculate the coefficient of friction. This is the equation provided by the U.S. Corps of Engineers. There's a pretty simple, straightforward equation. Any college graduate should be able to do it. However, the Corps of Engineers in the report, which is publicly available, it's right here, you can download it, stated that the coefficient of friction at failure where the factor of safety was 1.0 was calculated to be 0.27. In other words, the HESCO barriers were guaranteed to fail. Guaranteed to fail. Because the Public Works Director had no experience in building HESCO barriers, they simply followed the previous director's instructions. However, Mike Clark, the previous Davenport Public Works Director, pointed out that those plans were for a much lower flood crest, one of only 19 feet. This is a direct quote from Mike Clark, published in the Quad City Times. Quote, "They were fighting the last flood. I would not have gone into a 22-foot flood fight with just one line of HESCOs. No way," close quote. Unfortunately, the current director of Public Works had no idea what she was doing. Again, quoting Mike Clark, quote, "It's a travesty. With better leadership and better planning, you wouldn't be in this situation. City staff and officials are saying all the things you say when you know you screwed up." When the HESCO barriers failed and downtown Davenport was inundated with floodwaters causing millions of dollars in damages, where was Davenport's Director of Public Works? According to this testimony from the lawsuit Washburn versus Davenport, by the way, another lawsuit the city lost and was unsuccessfully defended by Lane and Waterman. I quote, "Defendant Spiegel was on a cruise vacation with her newly installed Public Works Director, a younger female named Nicole Gleason, just prior to the time the HESCO barriers were breached." In other words, the person responsible for the safety of the city of Davenport had overseen the construction of an inadequate flood protection plan and then left on a cruise. This is malfeasance. This is why you're being sued. When 324 Main Street collapsed, there were 74 open housing violations, 2 orders to vacate the building, and an order that the building was a public hazard. Inspections of rental properties are handled by Neighborhood Services. The Director of Neighborhood Services reports directly to the Director of Public Works. That person, of course, is Nicole Gleason.
I believe your time's up, sir. Thank you.
Nothing has done to prevent these people.
Mr., you're done, sir. Your time's up. Please sit down. Please sit. Mr. Sir, your time's up. We gave you 5 minutes. Please sit down. Thank you.
Just pick somebody at random.
Sir, please sit down.
They'll do better.
Please sit down. Last warning. Please sit down.
For what, sir? She's not.
Please sit down. Last warning. Stop.
Thank you. If anyone else wishes to speak on the topic, please step forward, state your name, ward, or address.
Christine Alexander. Previously, I lived in the 8th Ward. Community. Our great city of Davenport, Iowa needs more than what continues to be offered. The city of Davenport, Iowa administration and continues to set people up to fail over and over and over again. Fear of retaliation, obtain work and contracts if not complacent, risking benefits and pensions. If you ever went to City Works or Public Works and wanted information, they wanted to be helpful, but they couldn't. And they were in fear of losing their benefits. Fortunately, I was able to befriend one. It is time for the rebuilding of community. Fixing a broken, damaged system, past and current leadership. Placing a person from Public Works leadership is not the way to fix a damaged, broken system. And I am talking over 2 decades worth, and I have the documents to prove it, okay? And a lot of those documents were sent signature certified mail to the state of Iowa and other resources when we were not getting satisfaction. When my toilet breaks, and it's repaired, but it continues to put crap all over my house, you don't keep fixing it, you replace it. It must be cleaned up. It's also setting up the person you have selected to be in another leadership position to fail. To be honorable, we must do honorable things. Okay, November 15th of 2006, and we might as well put an addition to that of August 7th, 24. My name is Christine Alexander. I am here in support of Rhonda and Patrick O'Brien. I agree with them. There needs to be an investigation of the Davenport Public Works Department, the city administration, and the city's legal department, as well as numerous elected appointed officials. If this would have been done accurately, 324 Main would not have happened. You have killed people, and that's pure and simple. Citizens of Davenport should demand an investigation of all the activities of the previous mentioned bodies of government. Requests for an investigation has been ignored and business is conducted as usual. In some instances, codes were broken and possibly laws were broken. And I'm also referring to people that were being deposed, that were city employees that have destroyed records, that have falsified records.
Ma'am, for the time, you must speak specific to the agenda item.
I am. You be patient with me.
Okay.
I have to question Alderman as to the motivation for taking office. Is it for the welfare of all, your own agenda, or the agenda of others? Please remember, this was done in 2006, but we're repeating it today in 2024. This has been a long, drawn-out process. It appears to immediate action needs to be taken. I must say, it is a huge disappointment to witness the
the lack of accountability many of our elected officials demand. I also question the decision made regarding the city administrator's contract. I'm now referring to Craig Malin, who was aware of all the stuff that was being done at Public Works.
Ma'am.
I can say that.
Must only stick to the agenda
I
item.
am sticking to the agenda. I am talking about the Public Works and the city administration. I also question the decision made regarding the city administrator's contract. That was Craig Malin. If he did something wrong, then stand up and hold him accountable. His actions will cost the city more in the long run. and
Ma'am.
Stop.
No,
Stop.
ma'am.
Not
The
necessary.
agenda item.
I will do it here or out there.
The
And not
agenda item
necessa-
is in regards to appointing
It is.
Nicole Gleason,
But
not, this is not about any other individual.
She is connected to Public Works, which is
So
with you.
please stick to
Let
the.
me finish.
Please stick to
No,
the agenda.
you let me
Okay,
finish.
We're done.
Point of order, sit down, ma'am.
I also question the
Ma'am,
decision
sit
made
down.
regarding
Ma'am,
the
please
city.
sit down.
Point of order, ma'am. Turn the mic, sit down, please. Mr. Harris or Mr. Brown, please help this lady find her seat or escort her out. Ma'am, you're done, you'll be escorted out. Please escort her out. Please escort her out.
If there's anyone else, please step forward, state your name, ward, or address.
Judith Lee, Second Ward. I have 4 questions that you folks need to ask before you vote on this. This is a crisis for City Council created by city management. The search process should have been started nearly a year ago when management knew that Spiegel had submitted her demand letter to Warner. Why did city management delay the search process, hiding everything from the public until after the election? What is the difference in authority between interim city administrator, the position that Mallory Merritt currently holds, and acting city administrator, which is the position title for Nicole Gleason? How would the title revision change the relationship of that position with the authority of city council? The resolution and cover letter state that city council has already, quote, selected Nicole Gleason to serve as acting city administrator in a temporary capacity. What public process was used by council to make that selection? And if it was not a public decision, justify the reason for and who advised council to make another personnel decision out of the public view, potentially in violation of open meeting law. 4, was this a unanimous decision by council? And if not, why is it being again falsely presented to the public as a unanimous council decision? My comments. Last night at Management Update, I listened to Director Gleason's response to Alderwoman Burkholder's valid and critical question regarding the capacity of the joint Davenport, Bettendorf, Riverdale, and Panorama Park wastewater treatment plant under the existing conditions and in light of the massive proposed expansion of development by Davenport, supported by $18 million sewer extension, and Bettendorf, development of 9,000 residences and businesses. We all know the current plant has no physical room to expand, and without sufficient capacity, all development in the 4 communities would be blocked. I was surprised when, as public director, her answer was neither informative nor professional. She did not provide sufficient information regarding the current capacity and volume used by the 4 municipalities, the degree to which that volume is increasing over time, or even the appropriate metrics. She used million gallons. Is that per day, per month, per year? How does that change during high rainfall and flooding? When it has been reported that the city has had to release raw sewage into the Mississippi River because of lack of capacity during flooding. She simply stated that 10 million gallons would be saved by reducing I&I, and therefore all municipalities can, quote, stay the course. I&I means removing stormwater and groundwater that infiltrates into the sewer piping system. Interestingly, I asked the same question of Mr. Mattson at the Mayor's Forum and was given an equally vague answer by him. On the city website, it states the annual average wastewater flow in 2015, 10 years ago, was 26.8 million gallons per day, increasing to 60 million gallons per day during heavy rains and floods. Last night, she used the number 40 million gallons with no further metric. This is a big jump in 10 years. I've also been told on the side by relevant city staff capacity is not sufficient at the plant, and that this information is not being publicly or even internally released. I question the ability of I&I to reduce the flow to meet the capacity moving forward. If Ms. Gleason is going to practice that level of non-transparency and lack of accountability to counsel on a subject to which she should be highly versed, then I do not believe that she would be any different as acting CA and should not be given the position and let alone an increase in pay. I begged Dr. Gleason multiple times, including from the dais, for a traffic signal at the intersection of Veterans Memorial Parkway and Eastern because I was concerned that someone would be killed making a left turn across 2 lanes of traffic, especially during the traffic from the detour on the construction of 53rd. I was told it was too expensive and that a roundabout would be constructed there. Then somebody got killed making a left turn across 2 traffics. I hold her responsible for that death. 3, as Director of Public Works, she openly violated state law when she allowed a public park to be constructed using excavation on an open, unregulated dump dating from the late 1880s, having a high probability of soil and groundwater contamination by industrial chemical and putrefying animal parts based on 2 reports prepared for the city of Davenport. Public Works reported that they removed 2,300 tons of dump material and dumped it at the landfill, which they identified as contaminated. I hold Director Gleason responsible for that open violation of state law. If she is so willing to unknowingly violate state law and potentially put the...
Thank you. Anyone else? Please state your name, board, or address.
Gary Eklund, and I live in Davenport, and I know I'm going to run out of time. I want to say ahead of time, I am not accusing her of any specific criminal conduct. I am, however, accusing the woman above her and specific individuals below her of serious criminal conduct, including trespassing, stalking, harassment, theft, vandalism, destruction of property, religious hatred, ethnic hatred, racial hatred. And I have decided, as I am attempting still to get the U.S. Department of Justice to flood the city with criminal and civil rights investigators, to begin to refer to the city of Davenport's conduct towards me as a form of domestic terrorism, intended to terrorize me, successfully intended to terrorize me,
Mr.
and
Eklund,
intended to physically
please stick to
eliminate
the
me from
agenda
my
item.
home.
Please speak to
Her
the
city
agenda
staff,
item.
under her city staff, Davenport city employee Chris Hout was recently not terminated, but told that he could get unemployment if he quit. I want to know if Lane and Waterman has evidence of criminal conduct that they should be turning over to the prosecutors. I believe this man should be in prison for the rest of his life.
Eklund.
This is the Public Works Department. I want to know
The
what,
item before, the
what did
item
she know?
before today is specifically as
There-
to the
right,
appointment
there-
of Director Gleason. So please
you're-
stick
You're burning up my
specific
time.
item.
There's a police report from December 9th, 2022, alleging that on December 7th, 2022, Davenport City Public Works Department came into my yard and destroyed Native American religious artwork as well as very expensive flower pots. She was the immediate supervisor of the person who ordered that, and he told me he ordered it. According to the police report, he denied knowing anything about it, but he told me he ordered it. She either did know or should have known. There were multiple city staff under her direction with city vehicles under her direction involved in the destruction of my Native American religious artwork and flower pots of fruit trees and blueberries and blackberries and seedlings. She was the immediate supervisor of that person, and he's in the police report saying he doesn't know anything about it. He told me he did it. There are city staff members who picked it up and put it in the truck. This is an ad from the Green Thumbers. It says shrubs, perennials, trees, fruit trees, pottery, metal garden statuary, metal garden art, statuary, trellises, and bird baths. Every single one of those was destroyed by city staff under her command. And they should all be in prison for it. That was a form of domestic terrorism intended to eliminate me from my home. Right. Well, she knows exactly who destroyed. There was a couple of nativity scene figures that survived. Hand-painted, valuable.
Point of order. What is this? I don't understand, ma'am. what this has to do-
There is a city staff member,
I don't
there's a
understand
city
what this
staff
has to
member who
do
picked up
with
baby
what
Jesus and
Mrs.
smashed it in the
Okay, Mr.
garbage
Eklund,
truck.
sit down. Thank you. Please take a seat. Please take your seat.
You're
Please
supposed to
take your
have
seat.
freedom of
Last
religion.
warning or you'll be escorted out.
These terrorists smash
Please
baby
escort
Jesus.
Mr. Eklund out. Please escort Mr. Eklund out.
I happily sit out. I don't think.
No, please escort him out. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak to this agenda item? Please step forward, state your name, ward, or address.
All right. LaShawn Dixon, 7th Ward. Who goes on a cruise? Now, I just heard this today. Who goes on a cruise with a work friend? I ain't going on no cruise. And I've been working since I was 16 years old. I ain't going on no cruise with no work friend at all. Why does it seem like the friendship, sister friend line? That's what I want to know. Also, I've been working, so I want to know why Miss Merritt is leaving. We get an update on that? She living with a severance package.
Ms. Dixon, can we please stick to the agenda item for
I know
now?
what it is. Why are we having to vote Ms. Gleason in? I think they're connected. I'm not meaning to throw anything off Alder Lady, but that's a valid question. And my third question is, are we still getting a new city administrator in like September? That is my third question, because I thought we were searching for one. So is that still happening? That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else, please step forward, state your name, ward, or address.
Cheryl Shagna, 3rd Ward. I think you can all obviously see that there are flaws in this process. No one probably expected to lose 2 or 3 employees in a very short time period. But sometimes we have to prepare for the unexpected. Now, the 324 Main Street building, I think that collapse, we can all agree that was just plain neglect and not necessarily something unexpected. But this is a person that was also responsible for that department. I've talked to her. She's a nice lady, talked to her personally. But the department itself has huge problems underneath of it, starting with the employee morale. And so I think you all need to look at this as an opportunity, since you can't seem to stop the process we're in now, which obviously the public would like that to happen, but I get the idea, once again, it's all just formality for public record and not necessarily something that we have an opportunity or choices or even options. And if there are, I would like to know what are our options and what are our choices, if they are available to us, other than just appointing the next person in line who has moved up twice in the last year. And there seems to be huge questions about her qualifications. I'm not qualified to judge her qualifications. I am qualified to say our roads are crap. Whoever designed that up there on East 49th or East 46 was on drugs. I've never seen a more crazy road in my entire life. Whoever allowed that to happen was on drugs. I would love to get up here and say you guys are awesome every time. You guys are doing a great job every time. Human nature is we are going to find the negative things and bring them to your attention, because they're magnified in a public level. They're magnified when people come to town here and see this city. When people come from one of the most oldest countries, the United Kingdom, and come over here and say that this city is rubbly. You guys have those opportunities to change it. If it means changing something in the setup of the city structure, please do it. Because you can't have this happen again. The public is telling you they aren't happy because the employees can't.
Thank you. Anyone else, please step forward. Name, ward, or address.
Diane Salmon, 8th Ward. I love my city. But I've seen several things on Facebook and people are talking about moving here and they're asking what the recommendations are and they're being told, don't move here. We have got to do better. How is it that we have gone through so many employees? What are we gonna do if this one leaves too? Do we have any plans in place whatsoever? We saw millions of dollars walk out the door, no explanation, still trying to figure it out. Now she's leaving, going to a new place. There's questions about that. Now we have a new one coming in who doesn't seem qualified. And it scares the heck out of me because I have children and grandchildren that live here that someday will be in the shoes we're in. And I'm afraid we aren't gonna have a city for them. They're gonna be so deep in debt from the lawsuits. They're going to have abandoned buildings around them. We're going to look like a third world country in our own country because our city is going to hell in a handbasket. We need to make sure we have qualified people in these positions if we want our future generations to have anything. I am hearing 18 and 19-year-olds who are terrified to move out of their parents' homes because they don't think there is safe housing. I have an aunt that's been in a nursing home 3.5 months, almost 4 months. Every place that she calls to get into, Marycrest, and all those kinds, we're being told don't go to them because they're falling apart. And we have our streets that are a mess. I have a friend that's a firefighter. He drives the rig. He can't get through the city to get to people in need, and we seen people the other day not even pulling over, just barreling in front of the fire truck and they're laying on the horns. But then he says, not only is that an issue, all of our streets are torn up. And it's almost school time and we have all these streets near the schools and we have children walking home and walking to school and riding bikes. What the hell are we doing? Why can't we get people in place who are qualified? Not about the money. Who cares about the money? There's always going to be money problems, but safety is a huge issue in our city. And I'm sick of it. My daughter lived on 13th Street and it took forever for her street to get fixed. We had to keep calling, had to keep asking. Kids are walking on stuff they're not supposed to be on to get to church because they love church. They want to go to youth group. They want to go to church. What are we doing for them? We are screwing everything up and I am sick of it. I tell people, I love my city. I was born and raised there, but don't move here. I tell them about the building collapse. I tell them about the corruption. I tell them about all the negative stuff, but I make sure I tell them I love my city. But I'm not going to recommend somebody else bring their children here or bring their elderly parents here so they can struggle the way we're struggling. It's ridiculous. We need to get our heads out of our butts and do the right thing for the future generations and for now. So please look at this carefully. Make sure she's qualified before you go ahead with it. We had a huge thing about the bonuses and they're supposed to stick through October and November. Well, now they're leaving. So was all that money paid out and they just get to keep it, but the rest of the work is not accomplished? We need to stop wasting money. We need to stop wasting people's time on stupid crap. So please consider everything carefully.
May I give my questions?
Is there anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Please state your name, ward, or address.
Yeah, Paul Vasquez, 3rd Ward. I don't know this person that you're talking about, really. But I will say, listening to everybody, they're not radical. To me, they're passionate. I think what you've heard up here for quite a while is that, there's been a failure at the top. There's been people in specific positions who should have protected the citizens, protected property. Their job was to protect people, that higher calling, and they didn't do their job. That's been said a number of times in a number of situations, and maybe it's ultimately for the courts to decide. Professional liability. People knew things were wrong and did nothing. And I think that's the meat of everybody's concern. You're jostling people around. We're trying to fill a position with somebody else who may or may not have known that there were problems. If they didn't, they should have. And I think that's where the passion, the anger, the frustration, and you people, the lack of, I don't want to say understanding, patience maybe, you know, they're the citizens. You're declaring them out of order. You're stopping them from speaking. That's what we're supposed to do. And I think what you've been hearing here is let's, you know, and I've said new blood, a different perspective is what they need, we need, I need. We need different people. We need new people. We need people to come in here and say, yes, there's mistakes. We need to fix them. And you're not going to do it, in my opinion, by recycling the people at the top. You're really not. And who is supposed to control it? That's not doing it for whatever reason. That's the frustration that you're hearing out here. I give them credit for coming up here, but you people have to listen to them. And you have to show them that something's happening, not that recycling. When you people do that, they will see it. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wishing to address this topic? All right. I'm
sorry, I'm Tom Engelman from 7th Ward. 20 years ago, I served up there. And I just wanted to bring a little reality to the discussion about Blaine, especially about the tragedy on Main Street with the collapse of the building. When I was up there, we tried really hard to change the rental inspection program. And it was like fighting tooth and nail with the Landlords Association. They were very adamant about not having an additional inspections of rental properties. So just to add
Sir,
that, because
please,
there
it
was,
has to be on the topic,
well,
sir.
there was aspirations against the Director of Public Works about that particular subject. I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address this subject? All right, I'll take a point of privilege prior to going to council. There were some relevant questions asked. Obviously, when the public is speaking, we're not to dialogue back, but there are questions that should be answered. One of them is why we're needing to appoint someone. The answer to that is that the interim administrator has resigned her position or effective a date in the near future in this month. So that is why that position is needing to be filled. The second question, I do not have this, I have knowledge, but I think would be better answered by either a staff member or one of my colleagues on the actual committee in terms of the search process and if that is still moving forward with finding a permanent city administrator. And prior to giving the floor to whomever is going to answer that, I do want to make it clear that the council is listening in terms of wanting to find a pair of fresh eyes. When the council met with the recruiting company that is actually running the search, that was one of the directions that this council provided, that we wanted a pair of fresh eyes. And that is, from at least from where I'm standing, still the direction and still what the council is trying to do. We would like someone from the outside who's going to come in here with a fresh pair of eyes and look at everything and see what needs to be improved. And to my knowledge, and my colleagues can certainly correct me if I'm wrong today, that is still our intent and what we're looking to do in finding a permanent city administrator. The item before us today, the agenda item is to appoint someone in the interim because our interim city administrator is resigning. So we need someone to fill the position in the interim, but that is not a permanent appointment. So hope that answers some of the questions because there were very relevant questions brought forth by the public. And if one of my colleagues could or staff speak to where we are with the process of finding a permanent city administrator, I would appreciate that. Alderman Grip, please.
I can do it, yeah. I've shared, I think it was in the Quad City Times last week. I did an interview with them after the meeting, and we are still on pace. So I think it's September 9th and 10th. We will host hopefully 3 candidates. One of those 3 will be the next city administrator. We could potentially vote on that as soon as that first cycle in September. And all indications from the selection firm are good, that we have a good pool of candidates and we are moving forward. So we are still on target. I think, as you know, I think we slipped 10 days due to the timing of the cycles, but we'll appoint somebody in September and hopefully have somebody on board in October.
Thank you. Is there anyone from council? Alderwoman McGinnis.
Thank you, Alderman Newton. I did just a couple of things. There was another question which I want to address about where current employees going. The city has a policy of we don't comment on where people are going. That would be a violation of their rights as a person, and we wouldn't say that this person's going somewhere else if they're leaving the city. So that is not something that will, come from this city, from this council, or should. So the other thing is I wanted to talk a little bit more about the process as we get into September. There are finalists that will be interviewed by several of the committee that worked to find the search firm, a group of stakeholders, staff will be interviewing the final candidates, and also there's planned to be a public reception, so there will be a chance to meet people as well. So that's part of the very, very typical process that the city has to go through. It's part of, our ordinance of how we go through this. So, but just to answer those questions tonight that you had.
Thank you. Anyone else from council? Seeing none, we will move on to item number 3. Item number 3 is a resolution adopting the FY 2026 budget policies. Anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, item 3 moves on. Item number 4, resolution approving the 5-year extension of the Fairmont Cemetery Assistance Agreement between Fairmont Cemetery and Crematory Association and the City of Davenport. Anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item moves on. Item number 5, resolution approving a 3-year extension of the audit services contract with Eide Bailey LLP of Dubuque, Iowa, in the amount of $265,500. Anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this moves on. Item number 6, resolution approving the memorandum of understanding outlining a 2-year funding agreement between Scott County and the City of Davenport for Medic EDMS capital expenditures. Anyone from the public? Council? Alderwoman McGinnis.
Thank you, Alderman Newton. If, for the publics, the people who are here tonight, the people who are watching, if our city administrator could explain what this is and how this evolved to this point.
Sure. Thank you, Alderwoman McGinnis. You may recall a couple of years ago the conversation around the provision of emergency medical services within our county went underway. At that time, there was a discussion about who would provide those services. Ultimately, Scott County stepped in and agreed to provide countywide services through their own organization, and Medic transitioned from a nonprofit at the time and became a county department. One of the key purposes or reasons for that was that when a government provides these services rather than a nonprofit, you become eligible for GEMT dollars, which is a reimbursement. And so by receiving these dollars, it would make this organization more financially solvent. What's before you tonight is just a capital contribution that would go towards the purchase of ambulances to continue to provide those services in the county until the GEMT dollars are received. And there's about a 2-year window until Scott County would be eligible to receive that. And then after the 2 years, this agreement would terminate.
Anyone else from council? All right, see no one else, this moves on. Item number 7, resolution awarding a 3-year contract with 2 possible 1-year extensions for the third-party administrative services of the Employee Health Plan to UMR, Inc. of Wisconsin, and authorizing the Human Resources Director to sign any related documents. Anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item moves on. Item number 8, resolution awarding a 3-year contract with 2 possible extensions for pharmacy benefit manager services for the Employee Health Plan to Script Care Ltd. Of Texas, and authorizing the Human Resources Director to sign any related documents. Anyone from the public? Council? Seeing none, this item moves on. Item number 9, resolution approving a 5-year master government entity investment agreement and the related 5-year government entity contribution agreement between the City of Davenport and Quad Cities Convention and Visitors Bureau, doing business as Visit Quad Cities. Anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Anyone from council? Seeing none, this item moves on. Item number 10, resolution accepting the 2024 through 2025 Year 2 of 3 AmeriCorps Program Grant from the Corporation for National and Community Services in the amount of $437,207, and authorizing the interim finance director to sign the grant agreement to be managed and implemented by the Davenport Parks and Recreation Department. Anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item moves on. Item number 11, motion awarding a contract for audiovisual equipment and services at Fairmont Library to Conference Technologies, Inc. of Davenport, Iowa, in the amount of $60,594.99. Anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item moves on. Item number 12, motion approving the purchase of Pure Storage hardware and technical support from Insight Public Sector of Chandler, Arizona, in the amount of $81,649.71. Anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, item 12 moves on. Item number 13, motion approving the purchase of 14 sets of turnout gear from Dinge Fire Company of Amboy, Illinois, in the amount of $56,350, using Sourcewell contract number 10424. Anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, 13 moves on. And the last item, item number 14, motion approving the purchase of annual training and duty ammunition from Keesler Police Supply, Inc. of Jeffersonville, Indiana, in the amount of $54,640.40, using the Iowa Department of Administrative Services contract number 21298C. Anyone from the public wishing to address this item? Council? Seeing none, this item moves on. I would, just for reference, there are 18 items on the purchases of between 10 and 50,000. And I would ask for Alderwoman Lynch to please set the agenda.
Thank you. I make a motion to place items 2 through 14 on the consent agenda and place item number 1 on discussion.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? Motion carries, and with that, I yield the floor back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderwoman Newton, Alderwoman Lynch. Next area, other ordinances, resolutions, and motions. We have one for tonight, but first, we have to suspend the rules. So is there a motion for suspension of the rules?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second for suspension. Mr. Krupp, please call the roll.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Reinhardt.
Yes.
Tim Dunn.
Yes.
Rick Dunn.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Grip.
Yes.
Burkholder.
Yes.
And Jobson.
Yes.
10 yeses, Your Honor.
Very good. The rules are suspended, so I'll read the motion. Approving a beer and liquor license application, new license, new owner, temporary permit, temporary outdoor area in Ward 3, Mississippi River Distilling Company, 318 East Second Street Extended Outdoor Area, August 9 to 11, type C. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, is there, Alderman, please move the motion.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and second, any discussion? Very good, Mr. Krupp, please call the roll.
Ardon,
Yes.
Jobson,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Newton,
Yes.
Burkholder,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Reinhardt,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
T-Dunn,
Yes.
and Grip.
Yes.
10 yeses, Your Honor.
Very good, the motion passes. Is there any other reports, Ms. Merritt? Very good, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion second, all in favor to adjourn? Any opposed? Have a good evening. Have a good weekend.